Penguin Random House Audio presents The Glitch by Elisabeth Cohen. Read for you by Cassandra Campbell. To James. Part 1. Cap Ferrat, France. Chapter 1. Like a lot of successful people, I have problems with my sinuses. I was digging in my bag for a tissue when I felt my phone buzzing. It was work. And so, between the call and my nose, I didn't notice our child had gone missing. First things first. We were in France, on the beach. We had stopped beside a little cafe with a red awning and a menu board advertising moules marinières and dorade grillée, and a kind of wide-topped ice cream cone in which the two scoops sit side by side, competing for your attention. The cafe had an astonishing number of little tables on the pavement surrounding it, suggesting that its gross revenue per square foot was high for the local market, thanks to the competitive advantage of its beachfront location. But nobody was eating there now. It was too late for lunch and too early for dinner. People were catching up on email in their hotel rooms, or running out of their offices to do an errand, or coming home from nights out that had stretched into the next afternoon. And then there was us, Raphael and I, both on our phones for work, and our two little kids. Well, one of the two. I was thinking Nova would like those double ice cream cones, and I was about to show her, and then I thought, where is Nova? Have you ever been to Cap Ferrat? It's very nice. A little trashy, not exactly what I expected, but nice. We were beside the cafe and a parking lot, at the edge of the beach, with the sea beyond. Raphael had his phone against his ear and our baby in a carrier strapped to his chest. The baby looked placid and content as Rafe rocked from one foot to the other, murmuring in the soothing voice he uses to discuss leveraged buyouts. Our daughter, too, had just been there with us, and all at once she was not there. I stood up and blinked, thinking that might rearrange things, rematerialize her. I hoped to reboot the situation. She was not very tall. She was 4, but even for 4, she was shrimpy. That comes from my side. She has dark hair, a pale dress, legs, feet, sandals, big pockets bulging with grass stalks and little walruses and pieces of sea glass, which get put into a bin in our laundry room. She's not that musical, but she does sing. She plays soccer, though she hasn't shown any special aptitude for it. She hasn't mastered her Chinese tones. She likes drawing. She draws spirals that look like concepts for product logos, often going right off the edge of the paper. You have to stay on the paper, I'd told her just that morning at the hotel. Look, you're making marks on this table. Stay on the paper. Don't wander off. It was good advice. She was the type to hide under the tablecloth in a restaurant or fall behind, transfixed by a fountain. I thought she must be nearby, even if I couldn't see her. Tall, thin cypresses lined the road, and olive trees. There was a breeze off the water that smelled of fish and lavender. Unrealistically blue water slapped at the hulls of the sailboats in the marina. It would have been very enjoyable had she been there. Planters with blue and yellow flowers, that strikingly legible European signage. Just a few minutes before, we had walked along the road and stared at the Plan du Port. I think I can translate that, Plan of Port, and a little sign pointing the way to the ship Chandler. That's the person who sells candles to pirates, Raphael had explained, and Nova had looked up at him quizzically with her cloudy little expression, as if she wasn't sure if it were true or he were joking. That cloudy look was often on Nova's face. Earlier, 20 minutes ago, before we'd lost Nova. The boat's masts cast long, pointy shadows across the pavement where we were walking. The shadows bobbed and dipped as the boat stirred. Nova, who had been in a good mood for once, had run along the sidewalk, jumping over each one. Take a picture, I'd said. Good idea, Raphael said. In a second. I have to take this call.
It's Zach.
I was overwhelmed, as I often am, by the tidal currents behind my nose. My sinuses were giving me trouble. I dug for a tissue, and from the depths of my bag saw the bright glow of my own phone trying to summon my attention. "Yes," I answered, cupping my ear. I struggled to maneuver the tissue out of my bag and deal with my nose without altering the crisp, resonant timbre of my phone voice. I'm not sure how many moments later I noticed she wasn't there. I got into Rafe's line of sight and lip-mimed, because we were both still on our calls, "Where's Nova?" He gave me a distracted thumbs up. Without missing a beat, he said out loud,
"There's a lot of opportunity there. Yeah."
I mimed confusion. Into my own phone, I said crisply, "Brad, yes, I met with them just last week. They're putting out feelers. They want to get in on the action. It could be huge for them. Haptics are an exploding field." I turned, expecting her to have appeared. She hadn't. "Rafe," I signaled. "Nova?" Raphael put his finger into his ear and shook his head. He was on a call with an investor, and he seemed to be straining very hard to hear and pull meaning in through the connection. Our eyes met, and Rafe looked away. He had the expression he gets, slightly constipated, when he's doing calculations in his head. Or also when he's in the bathroom.
"I think it's undervalued,"
he said into his phone.
"For comparison, Mexbol's up a little over 2% this year. I like what I'm seeing. I'm just sitting here looking at some numbers with Pete."
Which was not strictly true.
"I can just go back a page. Hang on. The screen is loading. You having internet problems out there?"
"Nova," I mouthed, silently, hugely, inches from his face. "What?" he mouthed back with hand gestures. He began to look around, checking for Nova. His eyes widened. "I agree completely," I said abruptly into my phone. "I've framed out 3 different options. We could do it through a merger or acquisition, but a licensing deal could also work, if we could get favorable renewal options. I went over the details with Stefan yesterday, but I'm happy to lay them out to you or the committee. Maybe we could do that this afternoon. I'm prepping to go into a meeting in about 10 minutes. Which was not strictly true either. Rafe strode purposefully toward the backside of the cafe, showing confidence that he would find her.
"Who wants to go down there? Not me. But yeah, it would be good to have a guy on the ground. A satellite office, even. I'm looking at some other numbers."
In fact, he was looking at me, eyes wide, as he came back around the other side of the cafe, alone, still talking.
"I have historical trends right here."
His voice was measured and exact, his face contorted with worry. He drew an exclamation point in the sand with his shoe.
"Weren't you holding her hand?"
His expression was reproaching. "I did," I silently screamed back, "until the phone."
"What?"
"Until a minute ago."
"What?"
"A minute." I pointed at my watch.
"How long?"
I pinched my thumb and finger together to show a small bit and banged my fingers against the crystal of my watch. Unlike most executives in Silicon Valley, I do wear a watch. It may make me seem older, but I like knowing what time it is. It's just another stereotype I've had to overcome. My fingertips were still stained from the raspberries I'd fed our son at lunch. "A minute!" I screamed it silently till my ears popped from the pressure on the tendons along the back of my neck. My conch slipped out of position, and I pressed it against the back of my ear. Raphael put his hand over the speaker of his phone. On the edge of audibility, he whispered, "Go that way. I'll go this way." I nodded and set off. "Brad, sure. No trouble at all. Sure. I'd love to take you through the options. I'll sketch them out for you right now. No, of course, now is fine. Now's terrific." I took a deep breath. "So you've got the possibility of a turnkey solution."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?